Well, nice to see everybody. Um, we apologize for being late, and so this is our town hall meeting. So we have new folks and old folks uh, and everything in between. So it's a pleasure to get together with this particular group. We look forward to this every time we do it. We do it maybe 4 times a year, something like that. And let's jump in. And the idea is to answer questions or make comments, give people an orientation towards these three principles and the impact they've had in our lives and in the lives of others. Hi, Raha. And and so. Is there anything you'd like to say at the outset?
I think you're doing great.
Okay. So we have a couple of questions that folks sent in. We'd also be happy to entertain your questions or comments as well. I think everybody may have some. I don't think there's anyone that I see that doesn't have some experience with the principles. Am I correct in saying? Is there anyone who's brand new? Okay, I don't see anyone speaking up or showing their hand. I see so many friends. It's so nice to see everybody.
I know.
So maybe we could jump into a couple of questions, and that might just get us rolling. Okay. We had one person who sent in a question that maybe we should read it, Brett. Would that be possible, Brett?
Yes. I think the people who have submitted the question are both online.
Yeah, I think so too.
Would you rather they ask the question?
How about we ask them? So maybe Naomi could go first.
Okay. Do you want us to read the question, or would you like to ask it, Naomi?
Oh, well, I'm here now. It was actually meant for the professional Q&A, but
okay.
I might have to ask it then again as well because I'm really dumb about this. It's about the personal preference thing. I just go around in circles about if I have personal preference, does that mean I'm actually being outside in, or is it possible to be inside out, to be inside the paradigm and have personal preference? I don't know.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So I see a couple of new folks there. Hello, Bob and Marty. Hi there. Nice to see you. We're just jumping in on some questions, and if you all have any questions that you would ask, or you'd just like to listen in, either one would be fine. But I wanted to say welcome. Okay. Can I ask where you're calling from?
We're from Akron, Ohio.
Akron, Ohio. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Nice. Yeah. You're welcome. So this is a group of people that are all interested in these three principles and what they bring and what they deliver for and have delivered for our own sake and our own well-being and our own comprehension of the nature of life, and welcome. So if you have anything you want to offer at any point, maybe I'll check in with you later too, just to make sure we're providing voice for you. So most of the other people that I see have had some familiarity with the principles in one way or another. And is that you too?
Oh, okay.
I was just going to say, we've been in this about 7 years and been to
Oh.
about the 3 of the conferences. We were at the last conference out there in LA, and so we're, very familiar with it,
Okay.
familiar with your work, and have really enjoyed, what you've shared, and are kind of waiting for your book based on Sid's notes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So.
And I would imagine that if we had a show of hands, which I'm not asking for, everyone on this call would probably say, "Yeah, where's that book?" So that it's in the works, as I've been saying for too long now.
Well, who's to say?
Well,
Right.
yeah.
Well, thank you.
So let's address the question of personal preference. Do you have a? Would you like to start?
I can say what I do. I definitely have personal preference. Why do you think I'm married to him? I mean, there's a lot of other people I could be married to, but I married the one that I liked all the stuff about him. And working out great so far. I think we've been married 40 years.
41. Yeah.
Oh, 41.
Yeah.
I myself don't worry about personal preference unless in a rut about something, you just keep making the same big bad mistake over and over and over again, and it's really tumultuously problematic in your life. I think I'd try to see if I could not do that. But other than that, my friends that I have, I think I like them because of who they are, and I like people like that. The ones that I don't like, those aren't my friends, and that's okay with me. I have some friends that I didn't think were going to ever be my friends because I didn't very much like people like that, and they ended up being my friends. So it's a little bit of everything. You're going to really like some of them because of personal preferences. You're going to not like some of them because of personal preferences and not have them as your friend. And then you can have some of them as your friend in spite of their in spite of your personal preferences. So I just don't worry about what's going on there. Unless it's causing you, once again, if you like redheaded, blue-eyed guys and they're just making your life miserable, you might want to try a dark-haired, dark-eyed guy. I mean, I don't know. But I know I don't worry about it. I don't worry, is one thing higher than the other? I have had insights about my personal preferences for my whole life. It's like, well, that didn't work out very well, did it? And so I think you can learn from people said that you learn from hindsight. I was trying to think if I'm a little hard-headed, so I don't know if I ever learned from foresight. Would that be what it would be called?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah.
You're probably different than I am.
Well, that's my personal preference.
That's true. That's true.
We thought about this. We got this question, and thank you, Naomi, for it. And we talked about it a few minutes before we got on the call. In fact, it kind of is responsible. Maybe it's your fault that we're late. Naomi, now that I'm thinking about it, we had a big fight. Actually, no, I'm kidding. We didn't have a big fight, but my thought about this question was, if underneath it was the idea of, because thought as a principle is neutral, mind as a principle is neutral, consciousness as a principle is neutral. They're pre-existing truths that were here, that have always been here, and always will be here. Without them, there would be no existence. There would be no perceptions. There would be no languages. There'd be no human experience whatsoever. So they're necessary for human experience. But knowing their nature and as constants is really profoundly helpful, because it sheds a new truthful light on the nature of our feelings and our perceptions, our realities. And so that's a very profound unification. And as such, but sometimes people think that, this is what I was wondering about, if there might be some underneath the question, there might be some other question about, is lack of personal preference higher or lower? Is it right or wrong to have personal preference? Is it better or worse, or positive or more positive or negative? Is it a bad thing that I have personal preferences, or a good thing? And so so I wondered about, and I think that's exactly where the principles provide a counterbalance to our thinking, so that we can see them as, in the context of the principles. Then they become explanations for cultures, explanation for religions, explanations for all kinds of different differences that we have, without being judgmental or torturous about them. They become interesting. They become a chance for us to listen and learn, and go beyond our own thinking. If our personal preferences are laws, or really strong desires, or really fixated as right and wrong, then we get into trouble, as Velda's commenting on. So that's where the principles really provide a true counterbalance to personal preferences. So
It was Naomi's question.
Is that moved the needle any for you, Naomi, or
I don't think so. I still just think, if I'm truly inside out, and I know that my feelings aren't coming from the fact that red-headed, blue-eyed men are horrible to me, would I then have a personal preference? Because I know my feelings are not coming from them.
Well, of course they aren't. They're never coming from them.
Yeah.
But as such, then personal preferences would just be part of the experience of life. Like I mean, there's no way that you can not have personal preferences. You might like orange ice cream versus peppermint, or the variations of preferences are multi-billions of preferences. They're countless. There's no way to really sort it out, in any other way than to just appreciate it, really. But the principles provide you a way to experience life and see personal preferences, because they're everywhere. There's nowhere you can go that you don't have those in effect. And so that would take that drive to judge yourself, or think about yourself, or decide about yourself, off the table. And it would quit being anything of any consequence. Of course, they're only natural, and they're built into the different ways of thinking that people have. Like Sid mentions in one of his recordings, if I grew up in Japan, let's say, well, I would have certain preferences, certain certain ways of looking at life, thinking about life. Then let's say, then if I grew up in England, I would have other preferences. It doesn't make it right or wrong, but all of those are based in the perceptions and the principles of mind, thought, and consciousness.
I think you can look at, am I experiencing this as happening inside out or outside in, and find some questions for yourself about specific things. It's like I can, that was the hardest thing I ever asked was, well, okay, if this is all thought, it's like I couldn't, it's like, well, it seems like to me that Keith makes me love him, you know, by virtue of who he is, that he makes me love him. And I thought, that can't be right. Is that what's happening here? And then I thought about it, and I thought, well, wait a minute. I don't always feel great I don't always have nice feelings about Keith. Sometimes I have very dissatisfied feelings about Keith. And, you know, you never know. I never know what's coming up next. It's like a shuffle playlist or something. People don't know what they're going to think next. And sometimes I think things like, oh, look, there's Keith. I love him so much. He's such a great guy. I can't believe I get to be married to him. Now, when those are the kind of thoughts that are coming to me, I am just filling myself full of good feeling with that's not even why I'm doing it. These are just my thoughts that are coming to me in the moment. And then there's other moments that I'm looking at him thinking, oh, there he is. He's so stubborn. Why, there's something I've been trying to get him to change for 10 years. I've made no headway whatsoever. I've tried everything. I'm usually pretty persuasive and can think of tricky little ways to get people to change if I want them to. No headway. And I thought, you know, his mom tried to tell me about this, and I ignored her, that he was stubborn. And then it's like, I'm not thinking he's a great guy when I'm thinking like that. I'm pretty darn dissatisfied. And so I thought, well, yeah, I don't think about him the same all the time. So believe me, if he had his way, I would think about him that first way of, oh, look, there's Keith. I love him so much. He's such a great guy, you know. If he ruled the world and he could have his way, it would always be like that, but that's not what's going on. And so I thought, oh, it's the way I think about Keith is why I feel whatever way I'm thinking about him. And that was some real headway for me. And so I thought, okay, so it's not going to be that I always love Keith inside out or outside in. It's going to be that some of the time I'm inside out about him and some of the time I'm outside in about him. Did I say the opposite things? Good.
Yeah, you did.
And so that was just really, I thought, oh, it really is all thought. This is great to know. And so now when I head down that road of what is he doing over there? You know, couldn't he just let that wait? We're in a hurry now. Why does he have to be trying to do that? When I go to those kind of places, I realize that I'm giving myself a lot of bad feeling about Keith. And it's not that I can't talk to him about such a thing. I could say, remember what happened this morning when we were getting ready to go? Could I talk to you about that? And really be completely neutral and totally nice and just be curious and say, did it anywhere along the way dawn on you that maybe that wasn't the best time to do that? Or did it seem like it was just a great time to do that? And just looking to have a conversation about it, not being smarty or anything like that, you know, being really respectful and just trying to find out and see if we could maybe not do that so much. Does he think that's the best way to get things done? So I can talk to him about anything if I can stay settled down. if I can't say stay settled down, better for me not to bring up any subject matter, because then I'll be disrespectful, and then that doesn't go well for anybody. So I think you still have something that you can go on quite well. It's, am I thinking about this as an inside out thing or an outside in thing? And most of the time I can tell what I got going on. But, ooh, I'm thinking about this in an outside in way.
Which again is a real value of a paradigm, the emergence of a paradigm that the feelings, the realities that we're experiencing are principle based, and that really that's really going to do something for humanity in fantastic ways that we're only beginning to experience, but it's going to continue to be the truth about the nature of mental life and human experience is going to be more and more evident to us. And then the second question.
And then there's times when we would be packing to move someplace, and Keith would look over at me and he would say, "Is this a good idea?" And I would say, I can't tell, but all I know to do is keep on packing, move, and see what happens. And if it's a bad idea, we'll move back. I mean, sometimes you just don't have any more than that. But just to, you want to stop now or you want to keep going? It's going to be up to you to decide. And I think we have a pretty lighthearted way to think about it. And, it's like if it was a big mistake, undo it.
Do you want to say anything about the smell thing that you were talking about?
Oh, I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Well, no, I could. Now that you brought it up, I would have to. Olfactory is, I think, some part of me, such that he smells right to me. Now, I don't know what he really smells like, but when I get close to him, I feel very comfortable close to him. And I like to get close and cuddle. And there's a lot of people, all the others out there, they don't smell right for me. So I don't even know what to tell you about olfactory, but I know it's people are wearing perfumes all the time and doing all sorts of things. And so, how'd I do?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, don't do that to me. I was just waxing on earlier, okay, being funny. But it's true. You do smell right.
Thank goodness.
Those little penguins find each other through smell. So why not us, I mean, they're all dressed exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they have to go around and smell to find the right one.
Yeah. Two penguins they could say, "Oh, I'm so happy with my mate. They just have the right smell."
Yeah.
I can find them among 10,000 other penguins.
Yeah.
I think you're right about the smell thing. Absolutely.
Well, that's there to help you out. It's like, this one doesn't smell right.
It's so important, isn't it?
It is.
Naomi's, she's getting her answer right there.
Caroline asked, she would like to know how to know what we are aware of in our thinking that is creating physical problems in our lives, but we don't know what the thought is. I am having hives and cannot figure out what the thought is that is creating them. They are not from allergies or food, etc.
Bless you.
They're not from allergies or food or what?
Or
I didn't hear the end.
Yeah, that's it. Food
allergies.
Okay.
Well, one thing I kind of had to smile a little bit, because when you say, I would like to know what thinking I'm having that I don't know that I'm having.
Yeah, like something, there's something go, I've seen people go, oh, that's what it is when somebody points it out to them, but they didn't know that that's what it was. And that's how I feel is what I feel is going on.
Yeah.
And so I just like, Corey, I've had them years before, two different times, and both times I was going out with the wrong man.
Oh, she's got a wrong man hive thing.
Yeah, I've been married for 41 years.
That's cute.
It was interesting that the question before this, you were talking about having different feelings and thoughts about, oh my God, I just forgot your name.
Keith.
Yes, Keith, thank you. And I do that so much, you know, with my husband. And
Everybody does.
yeah, but I was ready to divorce him last year and the year before, and put him through hell. And, you know, I still can't settle into saying, yep, I'm here for good. I just can't do it. And I think I'm answering my own question. I think that's what it is, but I can't do anything about it. It feels like I'm with it. I'm trying to have change. I don't know if it's changing my thinking, but trying to just see the good things, you know, and they're all good. I just make stuff up about the other stuff and how serious they are. So I don't know if that's what it is. I think it is, but I can't seem to get a handle on it.
You know, I think that things like that happen all different kinds of ways. I think sometimes something happens to you and you would immediately see what you have been thinking that was part of this. Mm-hmm. And then other times you can't see anything, that you don't get it, you don't understand it at all.
Yeah.
And I've had all different kind of ways that it's happened to me, or that somebody else points it out. You know, well, I've been watching you and looks like to me. So I do know that the direction of the three principles will point you in a way to have insights about things like separate realities. Separate realities is they're in the what are they in?
Implications?
Implications, not applications. And that completely changed my capability of having a really, really great relationship with Keith, because I still separate realities. I kept waiting for Keith to turn into one of my girlfriends and to get along as effortlessly with him as I did with my girlfriends. And it just was not happening. And I kept a hard feeling towards him about that, which didn't help the relationship any at all. And I was kind of on the cusp of, I could get out of this thing if I wanted to, a little bit, you know. And then I saw about separate realities, and I thought, oh, we're all in separate realities. And I need to quit thinking that one of these days Keith is just going to show up thinking just like me and my family. Because that's what I wanted. That's what I thought I wanted. And then it was like, oh, it's like, I need to, I don't know, I got over it. I quit wanting him to be different.
Mm.
And I started being able to appreciate him for who he was. And not wish he were different. Well, that made a huge difference in the relationship.
Yeah.
So,
can I say something about that?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, I remember when this turning point happened several years ago, but we'd been married many years. But I said to her, you know, it seems like to me that when we get here about this matter, that it seems to me that there's a risk involved, in the sense that you really think you might leave. You really think that way, and you really feel strongly that way. And she said, to my surprise, she said, yeah, I do feel like, and that I might, that's up for grabs, you know, that's a possibility. And it was sobering to me, because I always thought, oh, she's kidding. You know, well, she wasn't kidding. She really did feel that way. And when we both faced it, well, right before this, facing it, Valda had the insight that she was going to be on my side, and it really,
No, I had the insight that uh, any upset feeling that I had for the rest of my life was going to come from my own upset thinking.
Yeah.
And it was like big booming, words. And I thought, boy, that was plain and succinct and to the point. I like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, I know that's true.
Mhm.
This is me right now feeling my own upset thinking and thinking that I'm upset with Keith, you know? And so I looked at him then and I said, hey, and I said, I'm going to get to be on your side from here on out. And he said, haven't you been? I said, not like I'm getting ready to be. And it was a true turning point. I heard that very clear and it made sense to me. And I thought, I need to watch myself for what I got going on, not keep looking at him and seeing, is he measuring up? Is he measuring up? It's like, well, am I measuring up?
Mhm.
So that was great to have
Wow.
that. I think a lot of things like that can happen for people that shed light on that they're really feeling their own thinking moment to moment, even though it doesn't always look that way. And it doesn't always look that way, but that is what's happening. And that's where a principle really helps you out, is that that's going to stay constant. And you can just keep learning about it and keep learning about it and keep learning about it.
Yeah.
often for me, where it shows up is just in my kind of walking around attitude. You know, your attitude is the feeling of your thinking moment to moment, and I'm always surprised when I see it again, and it always breaks the stranglehold, because my attitude can really um, be a continuance of a certain sentiment, a certain feeling, a certain mood, a certain experience that I'm having, and I don't know that I don't really know that it's happening to me. When I see that it pertains to my use of thought, my feeling pertains to my use of the power of thought. It 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 helps me, and it helps me because it's like the one solution I hadn't really fully accepted. When I accept it breaks some illusion, and that illusion is always beneficial to me. In fact, it was right after she had that insight that we had that conversation. I remember now about, and I was, it was her, it was my experience of her willingness to leave that frightened me, and I got over that, and so thereafter, it was kind of like a simultaneous breakdown of two great illusions. Hers, that I was the cause of her upset, without her thinking being involved, and mine, that she was that her being um, being ready to leave had the power to frighten me. Um, it lost its power to frighten me, and I could hear her. She seldom came back to that attitude, but even if she did, I had a way of not being frightened by it, but being um, respectful of it, and listening to her, and seeing what was it that she was pointing to, and I began to be more resilient, or um, more loving, actually, because and allow her to have whatever thinking she's having without it being frightening to me. So I lost my fear. I lost my fear of your thinking in a way, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a lot. I can see the logic in all of that, and
Okay.
the understanding of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, too, I think this is true, Brett. This will this be recorded so people could go back and listen to it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So if you'd like to come back and hear it again, sometimes people frequently tell me that they always want to record the sessions or
Yeah.
have a go back and review them because something was said there that they wanted to hear again to make sure that they comprehended it.
Yeah, because in the beginning I could hear, and then suddenly I couldn't. And I'm trying harder to hear and listen, and it makes it worse because it's so important, and I got to get this,
Yeah. Yeah. If you know that it's being recorded, you can kind of relax. You don't have to take
Yeah.
notes or whatever. You kind of like this.
Yeah.
Let me hear it again. Let me hear it again.
With the three principles, once I saw the three principles as a paradigm, used to my question was, am I in a high level of consciousness or am I in a low level of consciousness? And why do I have such a low level of consciousness? Or, just kind of that kind of stuff. Or how am I feeling now? How am I feeling now? How am I feeling now? And then seeing it paradigmatically, it broke the back of those questions and gave rise to questions more like, actually, this is very simple. How do I think this is working in me? How do I think I'm experiencing this? Do I think I'm experiencing this in an inside-out way or an outside-in way? What is my current thinking about how we experience our psychological, spiritual lives? What is my current thinking about that? And that has been so much more helpful than the other discriminators like good, bad, right, wrong,
High, low,
positive,
negative.
Yeah, positive, negative. It's so much clearer to me. And it's like, oh, I've been thinking about this like it happens outside in. How about me? And then I learn something about myself. Or I've been thinking about this in an inside out way. Makes sense given how I feel. So it'll teach you either way. It has the ability to teach you either way, which is great. You're at no chance not capable of learning something. I like that it's clearer for me.
Perfect sense. Yeah.
Well, the I feel good, I feel bad. It's like, oh, we can egotistically feel good indefinitely. But it's all based on ego. It's outside in thinking. And I thought, well, that's not a very good measure of things, is it? That's gotten under my radar how many times? I don't even know how to count. But I could see it getting under other people's radars. Oh, I feel good. I feel good. And I knew they were thinking about it in an outside-in way, but because they felt okay, they thought they fooled themselves into thinking they were thinking about it in an inside-out way. And it caused X amount of trouble for them.
Of course, and let me just say again, these terms inside out and outside in are really not about anything other than it's the experiencing I'm having being created by the principles, by my use of the principles.
Did you say, are we in alignment with?
Or in alignment with the principles, or not, or the principles have nothing to do with an experience I'm having. And so outside in, just that's what that means. It's not outside your body, but it's outside the wisdom and logic of the three principles. And so once that logic is in place, you really start to get insights more vividly or more strongly, and it clears your head. And one of the things that Cindy Banks always said, if you listen to the Long Beach lectures, he said, I know particularly, he says it there, he says, what changes what changes you is you've cleared your mind, your physical mind. So he says, what is it? This is quotes. What is it that changes you? What changes you is you've cleared your mind, your physical mind. Another thing that people believe is that the mind is the brain. That's not so. Mind is spiritual. So this is his definition of mind. Beautiful. It's a spiritual intelligence before the formation of this physical reality. Now, in our book, he talks about being born into this physical reality. It's perfectly natural to begin to think separate. But so there are places where it looks like there's a separation between the physical and the spiritual, but that's not true. And he says that thought is the missing link. Thought, that the power of thought has built into it the power of thought allows us to recognize. So it's a gift. It allows us to recognize that we haven't lost our spiritual foundations. It allows us to recognize the lack of separation, the inseparability of the spiritual and the physical. Whenever you see that you haven't lost that connection through thought, through the power you already have of thought, you see that you're connected, not disconnected. That's a restoration of the truth of the matter. That's what we mean by inside out. And you don't have to have that all the time. You just have to have it because you'll lose track of it. But once it's realized, once that point of connection is realized, and you've been allowed to see it, then it's a measure in which you can pull everything through, and you can see when you lose track of that connection. It doesn't mean the connection isn't there. It just means that you lost track of it.
Yeah. Okay, I want to say something about smell.
Yeah.
Somebody told me to read this book about, it's called Too Good to Stay, Too Bad to Stay, Too Good to Leave, about whether or not, and they have all these questions, and one was, do they smell good?
I don't even know if it's good. It's just, does it smell right, you know?
Yeah, I like his smell, I think is how they put it. Yeah. Anyway, just a little levity.
Yeah.
So much.
I have a friend who hit her head and she lost her sense of smell.
Yeah.
So she's not getting to have that to go on about her mate, and they're doing fine.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But for me, I've got an extremely good sense of smell. So it's extremely important to me.
Yeah.
It's nice to get over that the principles are trying to tell you what is right, what's the right or the wrong way to live through the details of life, sort of. Because it's really helping you'll look at the bigger picture and learn to see that these principles can help you about anything and everything.
Because and on the flip side of that, one of the things that Sid said that resonated with me was that there wasn't one hassle in the entire universe that wasn't caused by ego. So ego is an image of separation. It's not a truth, not a testament to the truth of separation. It's an image of separation caused by our own personal thinking, and it's not true. But if you see that whenever you see that it's not true, which it isn't, your mental health will will be restored, and you'll be then there's a new, you have a new way to go forward.
Yeah.
So he said, you're only one thought away from mental health, and you're only one thought away from mental illness, because when you see the separation, and it feels real, and you feel alone and alienated, which I do, I fall into that sometimes too, just like everybody else does. But it's not. At some point, I'll realize what's going on. It might be a few minutes, it might be a few days. It doesn't really matter. It's still, the outside in is not true.
For me, as I continue in this direction, I could feel that a lot of thinking that I used to do and feel fine about, thinking about the past, thinking about the future. I just realized, I thought, I don't think as much about the past or as much about the future as I used to. And I thought, well, what's up with that? I don't have anything against it. I'm not on a mission here. And I thought, but I can definitely tell, I could see how certain things used to circle back around, and it would be things I would repetitively think about. They weren't even bad. It was actually all good stuff. So I remember the good things. Some people remember the bad things. Some people remember the good things. I'm one of those, I remember the good things. But I could tell that all this stuff wasn't coming around as often. And I thought, well, wonder why not? I don't have any issue with it. And then it was just insightfully, this voice comes to me that it was like, well, I don't need it anymore. You said, you don't need it anymore. And I thought, I don't? What is that supposed to mean, And then it was like, well, you do not egotistically need it to prop yourself up egotistically with anymore. Boy, that was a bad sentence.
Made sense to me.
Did it? Okay, well, maybe it's okay. But I was propping myself up egotistically with this kind of thinking. I had no idea. Oh, I'm the kind of person who had this kind of life, and I'm the kind of person that this happened in my past, and I'm the kind of person that knows these kind of people, and I'm the kind of person, I could go on and on and on. And so it was like that I didn't need that anymore to prop myself up egotistically. And I thought, well, that's great. I had no idea. This comes as a real surprise to me. And then what I ended up, it was like, as all of that thinking that I used to do and feel fine about starts to fall off, I find myself in a quieter mind. And what is obvious to me is that whatever God is, I feel more connected. And I didn't do anything to make all that kind of, stuff happen. But I could definitely feel, I thought, oh, well, this is great. This other stuff's falling away. And what's coming in its place is this deeper connection, which I've always wanted. I just never knew how to make it happen. I know there's a lot of stuff out there that'll tell you that if you do this and that and this and that and this and that, it'll happen. I'm not particularly attracted to that kind of stuff very much, so I didn't try that kind of stuff. And this, I was just going along, following the lead of how this works. And I find myself in that position, which I deeply, deeply appreciate. Anytime you can feel closer to whatever God is, that's a good thing. It's a very, very complete, whole, secure kind of a feeling. Whatever it was, I could tell it was good for me.
So if your ego was having you remember all good things all the time, would ego also conversely have you remember, because I remember bad things all the time. Is that
Yeah,
ego?
it doesn't really mean,
Having
yeah,
you feel bad.
yeah, it's just ego. You know, believe me, it doesn't really help you to just remember the good stuff. It's not, I mean, it was like a false sense of security for me.
Yeah.
Oh, look how great my life is, you know. Believe me, other things happened to me. I just didn't happen to remember them.
Yeah.
So I think that there's something deeper that can happen in our thinking other than just repetitively going over the past.
Yeah.
Great to find out there's something better than that. And to experience it and to see what it does for you. And what it did for me was to have me feel more connection was what I felt. I thought, oh, I feel so much more connected than I used to.
Mm.
That was the only way I knew to talk about it. And I think that that's part of the direction of the three principles. I think it's an inevitable thing that's going to happen to people as they continue to go in this direction. It's like, this is the way this train's going. And I love that I don't have to make it go that way. It's already going far beyond in anything I can figure out, you know. It surprises me all the time.
I was reading The Missing Link, and in there it says, can I just read it out? And I just like your comments.
Please do.
Yeah.
The purer your thoughts are, the more love and understanding will be in your heart. Positive thoughts create a healthy mind and a stable life. And then, etc., etc. And then negative thoughts create negative feelings, which in turn create negative behaviors and are the seeds of human suffering. So my question is that we can't control our thoughts, can we?
No.
We can't control what thoughts we're going to have.
Right.
So can you just comment a little bit about that?
I think you just relax a little about it, you know? It's like, oh, right, this game is not, can I control my thinking? And how hard can I work at that? It's a different game than that. It's a, can I realize that I can't control my thinking, but at the same moment, there's something I can know that can really help guide and direct me. And that's the three principles. So I thought, you know, I was shocked when I found out, it just dawned on me, oh, I can't really control my thinking. Nobody knows what they're going to think next.
Mm.
There's times you need to think about something and you can't make yourself. Or there's times you're thinking about something and you can't make yourself quit thinking about something. There's all sorts of things that happen. We just don't have the control that we think we have. And it's good to find that out. And it'll come to you just in insight. And it helps you understand other people better too. So it was like, wow, I don't have as much control here as I thought I did. And I thought, just the very next thought was, oh, good reason to know the three principles. I'm going to need all the help I can get here. And I thought, this is great. It's going to work the same way all the time. I can constantly learn from it. And it's going to help out given that I don't control my thinking. And I honestly do not think about my thinking. What am I thinking? What am I, if I have an insight, it'll be that I'll be able to see something about a certain kind of thinking that I do and help myself with it. Or that nothing would happen. I'll have an insight and it doesn't change me one bit, Things just aren't, we're always wanting this to be rigid and the same all the time. Well, it is rigid and the same all the time, just not the part you want to have it be rigid and same all the time. So,
and I think that's where the principles really help. Like when you read that passage that you just read, it might be tempting to believe, well, he's just telling us think positive thoughts and don't think negative thoughts. But that's how I see that. Once I understood this logic that we're sharing, is that's kind of a commentary. It's true that mentally healthy people are going to have more positive feeling and positive experience, but it's not because they're trying to have it. Like it might sound like that's advice on have positive thinking and don't have negative thinking. That's the story. But if you listen carefully to Sid over the breadth of his work, he never would get behind that statement. And it's been confusing for people sometimes because they'll find that in his writings. But if you listen carefully, take in the whole book, or take in the wider context, you'll see it's true as in the aftermath of the comprehension of the nature of the principles, that it's going to take things off your mind, like the negativities and the confusions and the egotisms. He said many times that the purpose of the principles was to go beyond ego. That ego is the problem here. And so it's not positive, negative. You go beyond, if you're going beyond egotisms, you're going to have more positivity, because the negativity and the busyness around the negativity, or the busyness around the positivity, will more and more subside. And that personal thinking, that personal thinking trap will ease off, and you won't be in the trap of personal thinking. So you might notice it. I'm sure there's many people in here that have noticed this, that their mind is just quieter. They're just not thinking at all. You might say they're not thinking personally. They're not judging their thinking. They're not analyzing their thinking. They're not thinking. Their personal thinking. Their personal thinking is just sort of subsided, and they're more discerning about it. They can kind of see, all that was a personal thinking episode that I went through. Never mind. So in the aftermath of a personal thinking episode, you can see, I've had a real episode of negativity here, and never mind. You learn to forgive your personal thinking errors. You learn to forgive other people's personal thinking errors as well. But it's too late to change that feeling, because you've already thought it and felt it. So if you've had negativity and you see that it's a result of your thinking in the moment, which of course it is, it's too late you can't go back and erase that thought that you had 2 days ago. But you can see now, never mind. And you get a second chance. And so your mind changes. But be careful when the principles are not about positive thinking in and of themselves. It's about the spiritual, they're about the spiritual connection between the physical and the spiritual. And thought gives us that power to see that. And wow, That's the answer that everybody's really honestly looking for. If you could boil it down, it seems to me it's a bottom line realization that thought, the power of thought that we already possess, can allow us to see this lack of separation or the illusion of separation. And that's when your personal thinking quiets down, because your personal thinking is just, you've set it on a search to figure out what's wrong. But it can't figure it out because the personal thinking, you might say, isn't smart enough to figure out that it's an illusion. You know, it never will doubt itself, because that would mean the breakdown of its own existence.
Well, don't you think it can doubt itself when it can see that it's upside in?
Yeah. But that's an insight, and oh yeah, of course, I set this dog on this journey, and there is no dog. You know, like you realize that it was your folly, and the illusion is revealed as not true. There is no separation. You just thought there was. What a relief it is every time. And that's going to quiet your personal thinking down. Not thinking that you don't need, because you got all the thinking you need. You got all the power that you need. It's your personal thinking that gets in the way of it. Egotistical thinking. And it makes it look like and it gives you a fear of separation, which is not possible. But you can think it's possible.
So clients would tell me, would just be talking along, and they'd say, "Oh, you're so positive." And I'd say, "I don't mean to be." And I said, "I'm not trying to teach you. Try to do positive thinking. Try not to do negative thinking." And I said, there's really no way that you're not going to become more positive as you go in this direction, because there's all sorts of fearful things you don't believe in anymore. And it's like, there were just all sorts of things that I would come and encounter, and I would think, that's just outside in thinking. How about that? So there, that one drops off. And you just, enough of them start dropping off, you're become a pretty different person. And you are very positive a lot of the time without meaning to be positive. You just can see enough that you're not afraid of things. Most of it is fear is our problem with our ego. And when you don't feel afraid of all this different stuff, you do fine. What are you looking for?
Oh, I was going to read a little story from our book, but
Can't find it.
no.
Okay. So it's a funny thing, because you can literally feel yourself becoming a more positive person than what you used to be without it being an effort. You're not trying to pry yourself away from your negative thinking or anything like that. It's coming through insight to you. You're learning. You're being able to change. You really appreciate it. It's nice to get to have different responses and different feelings towards situations you've been in before, and you just see it different.
And there is a difference. I mean, finally, fine-grained, in the fine-grained positivity of personal thinking positivity, personal positivity as a thing to think. And people like that, they're like, "Have a wonderful day, Dr. Blevins." It's a wonderful day. There's a certain sort of insincerity, or a certain trying, a certain efforting in their positivity that makes you kind of realize
Kind of
that,
like forced positivity, and you can feel it.
yeah, it's
And it doesn't really feel good.
forced positivity. We saw this program, and
Yeah.
we'll tell the story. This might be a good point.
The only time I ever watched, I think it's called Dancing with the Stars, was a time where this veteran was on there. He had been badly burned and badly hurt, but had rehabbed himself. Now, he couldn't rehab the burn scars away, but he could rehab himself to be able to walk and dance and other things like that. And he ended up winning the show. But
he was horribly disfigured. His
yeah.
face, if you look at his face, it's just patchwork. It's just unbelievable burns.
He's been badly burned, and his body's been hurt a lot. But anyway, they had a People magazine had him in there, and they asked him what did he dislike, and he said forced positivity. And I thought, I've never heard those two words together before. That makes all the sense in the world to me. And I thought, don't you know that he gets a ton of it, because people have the tendency to feel bad for him because he, obviously something really big happened to him, and he feels fine about it. He's not embarrassed of his scars. He's amazed that he's still alive, that he gets to live a life of any kind whatsoever, and he actually gets to live a pretty remarkable life because he is such a remarkable person. But he used that he just hates it when people use forced positivity with him. It seems so disingenuous. And
oh, sir, I'm so glad. I'm so sorry for what happened to you. And he's like, give me a break.
Yeah. This happened, 20 years ago. I'm fine. But he used that term, and it really, I just thought, oh, I bet he just gets a ton of that. And him, well, you're going to be okay. And I thought, he already knows he's going to be okay. He doesn't need you to tell him that, or for you to feel sorry for him or anything.
So there's a difference between the positivity that he would have, you see what I'm saying, than what someone who pities him or is trying to encourage him. Now, you got to buck in there, soldier. You got to, life is tough, but sometimes, that attitude, that's like an overlay to your natural mind. It's an ego thing. And it's not, you can tell the difference between that in them and that in him. There's a difference. That's a difference. That's a positivity. It's not a man-made positivity. It's a God-made positivity.
Well, and you're going to find that you're going to go much deeper if you do not try to just find a positive fix for something. You got something that you need a solution for. And if what you're thinking is, find a positive solution, I want you to go deeper. There's something way deeper than that. And you're going to know it too. And early on when I first met Sid and I needed to know something, I started to slap a little positive thing on it. And then I thought, I don't think that's what this man's talking about. I think he's talking about something bigger and deeper than this. And I thought, so that would mean I would just hang in there in the unknown until something else came to me. That wasn't me just thinking it up and slapping a quick fix on it. And boy, was it deeper. It was so deep I didn't even recognize it for a while as a solution for myself. So I thought, I'm so glad I didn't go for the positive thing. I'm glad I wanted to know something. Sid had something happen to him that he went really, really deep. And not of his own, not because he made it happen. It happened to him. He didn't happen to it. And so I thought, this is part of this thing, is me having a deeper insight, one that declares itself as deeper, and I know it's deeper. And that's what I want to aim at, and that's what I want. And I know he uses the words positive and negative. I think I just substituted for inside out or outside in now. Because he would tell us, don't worry about it. You don't have to think about it. It'll come to you in insight. And, go this afternoon. Just have a great day. Don't think about it. And later on, I thought, oh, he basically was saying, don't do a lot of outside in thinking about it because it will be for no good. It won't be honest or truthful. And so I thought, oh yeah, good idea to tell people that.
Another place in our book that he tells a little story about that I want to share. So in the book, I'm talking to him and kind of interviewing him. And at one point he says, as a matter of fact, Keith, everyone on earth is only one thought away from what they seek, if they can find this one magical thought. Throughout the years, thousands of times, people have challenged me and asked me what this one thought was. With a smile on my face, I would always have to answer, the one thought you seek is the state of no thought. I remember one particular man accused me of talking nonsense, then proceeded to tell the group a story of how he was driving down the road and suddenly he experienced the state of no thought and almost drove off the road. I panicked, he said, because I couldn't think. He told me it was the worst experience he had ever had in his life. Oh, really? I asked. And you say this all happened to you when you were in a state of no thought? It was the thought that I couldn't think rationally, he answered. So, you must have been thinking to create your panic, were you not? The look on his face was priceless as he realized he had not been talking about the state of no thought. He didn't say another word. So then I asked him, well, if there's a state of no thought, aren't you denying the principles? And he said, oh no, not at all. It's a state of no personal thought. That no personal thinking. When you're personal thinking, your ego thinking, your outside in thinking, however you want to characterize it, quiets down and goes away. Then you're automatically without what he was calling here with no thought, and you're only one thought away from that insight at any moment. And that's what actually people experience with the diagram, with the work in the three principles that people are, I shouldn't say work, but the comprehension of the nature of how their experience works is benefiting them. They're actually having what he said, what is it that changes you? What changes you is you've cleared your mind, your physical mind. It's not about your brain, it's about your mind. Mind is spiritual. It's a spiritual intelligence before the formation of this physical reality. You have that insight. You get a chance to see reality unadulterated or unlimited by your personal thinking.
Any more questions?
Yeah. Any comments or questions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was useful, thank you, because I wanted to have another way, because when I would speak about this to my clients, then they would talk about positive thinking and negative thinking. And I like the way you said, it's your personal thinking and not having any judgment, because what I would say is, okay, they're just thoughts, they're neutral actually, and we don't have to act on them or believe them. But I, like your explanation, so
Yeah. Well, good.
Another way for me to think about it.
Yeah, yeah, that was helpful for me too.
And once again, for me, my rule of thumb, am I thinking about this in an inside out way or an outside in way? We'll clear the air. It's so definite that it makes it easy to let. Sometimes people say, "Oh, it's so hard to let go of outside in thinking." Sometimes, and I think, boy, it's not for me. I'm more than happy to get something cleared up that hasn't been clear for me, and to let that just fall away as, well, that's not even true. That's not even realistic. That's fantasy thinking. And I'm not really interested in doing that. I don't want to live a life of fantasy thinking or untrue thinking or unrealistic thinking. And so it makes it very easy for me to walk away.
That's, to me, one of the hugest promises of the principles is that there's a specificity that will reveal to the thinker that they have separated something that's inseparable, and everyone has the power to see that. And when you coach people, you can bring them back to that, and you can, because that's the ultimate discriminator. There's one discriminator, and that's it. And if you can find that discriminator for yourself, you can tell somebody else about it. And that maybe they might find it for themselves. You can't give it to them, but you can narrow it down enough that at some point they might have no other option but to hear the specificity of it. That there's just one ultimate discriminator, and if they can comprehend that, then they've really found something.
So it's lovely to meet you again. Great to be here, as always. I want to ask, because we talk about a lot about letting go, thinking, quiet mind, dropping our thinking, and then we're talking about there's nothing to let go. And I'm kind of just like a little bit, just want a bit more about that, because on one side we're saying there's nothing to let go, obviously, because outside in doesn't exist. So there's nothing to let go. But then we're saying, yeah, let go of our thinking, quiet our mind. So it's like as if there's something to let go. So could you just share something a little bit about that? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. For years, it was talked about as dropping, letting go. Those were the kinds of words people would use about it. When I saw it as a paradigm, I thought, oh, this is showing itself to you such that it's just not going to come back up again. It's not true anymore. It's not very tempting. It's like, oh, here comes some more of that fantasy thinking. And so you don't have, I don't know how I do. I try to say that it's falling away. That's the best I've been able to come up with, so that it won't look like I'm actively doing anything, because I'm not. I'm being shown that it's outside in thinking, and I'm not as, I'm just not as, it's not very tempting anymore. It's easy to let it fall. It just falls away. Just like if you find a new way to the grocery store that's a lot easier and faster and smoother, and you'll just naturally start taking that way and quit taking the old way. It'll be that kind of an experience for you. It's like, oh, this is great not to have to think about this anymore. It wasn't true anyway. So I think that a lot of this is old language, and people just have never updated, but I hear it too. And it sounds like you're doing something, and you're not. You've been given the grace to see it for what it is, and it's easy for it will fall out of your thinking. It's like, when they realized that the Earth was round, not flat, the flat Earth thinking started to just naturally fall off of people's minds. What are they going to do? Sit around in the canteen or the bar or whatever it was called back in those days and talk about all the great flat Earth inventions they have? They weren't going to talk about that anymore. It eventually, within a certain amount of time, you wouldn't hear any of it. It'd be gone. So to me, it's got that effortless quality about it that it just, it's not true anymore. You leave it alone. So that's as much as I know. Do you know?
Well, it's an illusion. So,
yeah,
it's a powerful one, but but think about all the sailors there are in the world, millions, billions, probably. I don't know how many vessels there are on the seas. You can't find any one of those sailors who would believe there's an edge out there that they're about to fall off of. They would be a nervous wreck, and the people, they go on solo trips around the world. They go, they man huge vessels that are lengths of 5 soccer fields. And it's just an incredible amount of navigation that we do. Not one of them anymore would be living in fear of going over the edge. And there was a time not that long ago that all of them would be in fear of going over the edge. So where did it go? Well, it went the way of so many other illusions. But this one has been a particularly gnarly one. Elsewise, we would have a lot more mental health in our world than we now do, because there would be a lot more peace of mind and a lot more, and everything that would spill over from that, the positivity, the goodwill, the tolerance, the friendship, the love. It would all be much more, the world would be characterized by that. Now, it is mostly characterized by that, thank goodness, but there's a lot of places that are pockets that are not characterized by that. And in a world of understanding the illusion of the separation, all those pockets would start to collapse of their own burden, of their own ignorance. There was some shift that happened from flat Earth to round Earth. This would be one of those evolutions that we're undergoing.
And was that when the Renaissance happened?
No.
That's different.
That
time.
was the sun-centered solar system and the Earth-centered solar system, which it never worked as an Earth-centered solar system either. But that was an even more tenacious illusion, because it just doesn't feel like the Earth is moving, and it does look like the sun is setting and rising. Neither of which is really true. But illusions are illusions are illusions. Well, thank you all for your attendance today.
Hi, Tess.
It's a pleasure to see so many near and dear friends. We love you all. You have no idea what you mean to us to share with and come here and sit with us for these times. We really, it's just a pleasure, an extreme pleasure. There's Olaf.
Hi, long time.
And we see him too.
I see.
So thank you all so much. We love you, each and every one. And
maybe we'll see you next time.
Yeah.